Now, a big match, Brazil, Switzerland. And Didi, I'll go to you first. There was a guy playing for Switzerland who played for Watford and for West Ham. He's now at Udinese, Barami, and he had a fair hair. He dyed his hair, but he did a job on Neymar. What did you make of Brazil? Because they've been talked up, and Neymar in particular.
Yeah, I think it was a quiet start to the tournament. I know Barami quite well. He did play in Germany before he played for his English side and for the Italian side now. He's a player who makes things awkward for the opposition, and I think the Swiss knew that they had to be physical. I think Neymar got fouled 10 times, which is the highest number I think in World Cup history for a player to be fouled. But they did what they had to do. I expected Brazil to go on after going 1-0 up, after they'd won the strike from Coutinho. I think they showed in glimpses what they can do and what they're capable of. I think the first game of the tournament, yes, it's disappointing for them not to win. I wouldn't worry about them. I said they were favourites. I think they're going to win it. I would stick with them. The player I was disappointed with was Willian. I think Willian was poor in the first half. I'm a big fan of his, but I think in the first half it was very poor. And they've got options on the bench. And then I've got to say that the goal shouldn't have stood. I think it's a foul. It's a push.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they win the game 1-0, and we may talk differently. No, I wouldn't worry about them too much. It was a quiet start to the tournament, but I think they'll be fine.
Well, John, I say I am very worried about Brazil, and I thought, tell me about Neymar. You were saying to me before we came on to do this podcast that you knew things weren't right with Neymar when you seen his haircut. But
that's been a bit trivial, actually.
No, but I don't think he's fit.
I don't know whether he's fit or not, Eamon, but I thought Brazil were terrible yesterday. Yeah. Terrible. They played that match, Eamon, as if they'd won the World Cup and it was an exhibition game.
Yeah.
There was no go about them to win, as if they would go out in the field and do it. And Neymar from the start was terrible. His attitude seemed to be, now I was only half kidding about his haircut, because it seemed to be, well, I'm going to show everybody here what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the best player on the pitch. And the first time he got the ball, very, very early on in the game, there was a simple pass on, he started throwing his foot over that and lost the ball.
Yeah.
And that was his mentality, and I think it was the Brazilian mentality going into the game. This is going to be a bit of a walkover. We're going to turn on the style, particularly Neymar, who's supposed to be their main player.
Yeah.
I thought they were very, very bad. Very bad. Their attitude. I mean, you go into any tournament, any team you do, right, first you're up for it, you go and you play as best you can. I think they were going to stroll it in their own mind, and I was really, really disappointed with them. They have to pick it up an awful lot, in my opinion, to go on and win this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland didn't have much in the way of constructive possession in the first half. They were sort of trying to, put the lid on Brazil, that was their first objective, obviously. And I have to say, indeed he's right to point out, the Swiss goal should not have stood. It was a clear foul, and it called for the VAR. It would have been no, but even allowing for
I would
that,
I would agree with that, Eamon. I thought the goal should have been disallowed.
Yeah,
but that doesn't overlook their overall performance.
No, absolutely not. No, there's a couple of issues there. Dealing with team selection, Jesus. He might have had a penalty as well because he was wrestled to the ground, but Firmino would need to come into the team, in my opinion, and Fernandinho was left out, and I think he needs to come in because Paulinho, who was getting forward into bad positions and offers nothing, they may have to change those two players. Would you agree with that? Paulinho going out and Fernandinho coming back in, and perhaps Firmino. I know that he doesn't stretch opposition like Jesus does with his pace, but he is a real quality player.
Well, I think it's personal preference. I think they're both good players. I think with Firmino, you've got more hold-up play, and I think the way Brazil play, they like to be in possession. I think if Firmino is better suited to that style of play, and I'm not sure whether Jesus, I watched him quite a bit lately, and I'm not sure whether he's as quick as you think or people think.
Yeah, I think the first 5 yards, maybe the first 5 yards, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, but then he slows down rapidly.
So do I.
Don't we all, Didi?
And the thing is with, I know. And the thing is with Brazil, usually teams sit back against them because they don't want to give them space, and obviously they want to avoid 1-against-1 situation. So the closer you're together, the deeper you play, the better. So I'm not sure whether pace is really what's required for a Brazil centre forward. It's certainly no harm, but I think Firmino is better suited. And then I totally agree with you. Fernandinho, I think he's been absolutely outstanding since Guardiola went to Manchester City, and I think he's a player who has to come in for the next game.
Yeah, on that end, team selection is one thing, but attitude is the main thing. No matter who's on the pitch, like whether Firmino on the pitch or not, it's the attitude that was worrying me about them yesterday. Yeah. It was just like, we're going to stroll here and we're going to show a few tricks, and Neymar will do this and that, and they nearly got the big kick up the backside. In other words, for favourites of the cup, and I tipped them as well to win it. I was so disappointed with their attitude in it.
Just a point, Didi, about Neymar. He missed 3 months, the last 3 months of the season. He played a couple of friendlies. It's impossible to say how match fit and battle hardened he is at the moment. The other thing that I noted, and Richard Dunn was on the panel with us last night. Richard lives in France. He said it's so easy for him in France. There's a lot of showboating, and I've seen this watching the French league when PSG are so far ahead of everyone else. And maybe, I think in 2014 he was really gutsy when he was almost trying to carry a poor Brazilian team on his own. So I don't doubt his character, but I wonder. I really thought he was very poor yesterday. A poor example, a poor leader, and very, very self-indulgent.
No, I couldn't agree more. And the situation or the instance that summed it up is when he had 3 options to play the ball. He had 3 yellow shirts around him, and he hung on to the ball, and the guy was closing him down, and all of a sudden he got rid of him. Then he faced him, and he was doing his mouth flicks with his leg, not touching the ball for about 5 seconds. And this is I think it gives the opposition a lot of encouragement.
Yes,
because for one, it shows immaturity. And it also shows that his head is not in the right place, because this is not what you do in a World Cup. You do it in an exhibition game, as John alluded to, but you don't do this. You do what you have to do. And also you have to give the opposition respect, and I don't think he did that at all times. And he, as you rightly say, he's the leader of the team. Everybody looks up to him. Everybody looks for inspiration. And if he's the guy who you want to win the World Cup for you, or a game for you, if he does these tricks and these antics, it's usually not a very good sign. But at the same time, it was the first game, so I wouldn't, or I don't want to be too harsh.
No,
for now I'll stick with him.
And it's worth pointing out that in 2010, Switzerland beat Spain 1-0 in the first game, and Spain went on to win the tournament. And I remember in 1982 when Italy failed to win any of their group games, including against a couple of very poor teams, and went on and won the tournament. So you can get ahead of yourself very easily in this punditry operation.